Hi, everybody. I'm Laura.
And I'm Allison.
And this is the Earp Top 5 podcast for freedom.
On this episode, we're going to be talking about the top 5 moments of John Henry Holliday, better known as Doc.
Ah, yes, Doc Holliday, the famous cowboy.
I am a gunslinger, you amateur.
Thunderation! It's Tim Rozon, everybody. Tim, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on your show.
Welcome.
Thanks for coming on. Well, as you know about this podcast from the 5 minutes ago that we told you, we share our top 5 moments, usually of the episode. But today we're going to focus on the gunslinger himself, Doc Holliday, which I think you might know a little something about. So we're just going to, from seasons 1 through 3, we're putting a pin in 4 right now because we haven't seen all of the episodes yet. And Tim, I know you have a few. So why don't you get us started?
I was trying to remember too, because it's like I forget everything. It's like I don't, but I do, and I'm like trying to. So I was like, I was trying to remember like moments. So I was like going back. I'll say this: I'm just gonna eliminate all Doc and Winona porch scenes. Just know that they are favorites for sure, because the connection is so real and intense. But they weren't. I'm just gonna eliminate the Doc Winona porch scenes, because if not, it's just like it could be 5 of those. I'll say this one, the Bubba scene with John Henry and Bubba when I was strapped to the thing, the knives, and he's throwing the knives and he's gonna kill me. I remember I loved that. I loved that day. It was a super fun day. The director was Paolo Barsman, who's my all-time favorite. People should know, that's the one thing I would love Earpers to know, because they seem to know so much about this show and everything they know. And like the one thing I feel like people don't know enough is just how huge an impact Paolo Barsman has been on this show from day one, since directing the pilot episode to the finale. He's just been integral. He's executive producer, and he's just a huge part of our story. And like, he's the one when we've got questions that we go to almost a lot of the time, because he's there. You know what I mean? He's just there with us. He's just he's so great. I've also worked with him on more projects than I could just anybody else I can think of. I can't even, like, Being Human. It just 15 Love. We did a tennis show together like so many years ago. I've worked with this man on so many different things. Lost Girl, everything. Anyway, he was directing, and the actor, forgive me, I should have looked it up, man, because I knew I was going to talk about this scene. The actor who played it, he was so incredible and creepy.
And that was his second role, because he played
the first role that they said, this guy is just so amazing. Paolo and Emily were like, this guy is so amazing, we got to give him something else. And then they gave him the Bubba scene with me, and and Paolo kind of told me before, he goes, get ready for today, my friend. And I didn't know what he meant. And I knew when I was strapped to the thing, working with the Bubba. It was super fun. It was great. And that was my day, you know what I mean? Because it's like, we broke that scene up into like, so I just went in for the day and get strapped to the thing and have a crazy guy.
So in between scenes, do you get unstrapped, or are you there for the remainder of the day?
No, you can, they'll unstrap you. I will say this. Do you remember the scene where, and it actually was one of my favorites too. So I'm gonna give you 2. It was the episode where Doc is buried alive under the house, and Mel is in the homestead, and there's pictures on there's an image on the wall behind her and stuff. So that was April Mullins' episode, and the way we shot it was absolutely incredible. It was in the studio. Melanie herself was in the homestead with half the crew, A cam. So we broke it up with the A camera over there with her. And then we had the B camera over with me. And they literally built another stage, like a theater stage. It was incredible. And then underneath it, about 6 feet underneath it, they brought in all this dirt. And then they buried me in it. And then the camera you couldn't move it once it got in. So if I was to come out of there in between scenes, they'd have to dig out all the dirt, reset, and re-put me. So for that scene, actually, I never came out of the dirt. I just stayed buried all day because it was just so much easier for everybody, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, and they were always, of course, like, Tim will take you out. Like, you don't, you know what I mean? It's not a big deal, but
Right.
it was, and I knew it was.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I was like, "Nah, you know what?
Mhm.
I don't care. And I just laid there. And Gunther, my makeup artist, he's the best guy in the world. He laid there
Oh,
next to
Aw.
then the SFX guys, the special effects guys, who are like, you know, that whole gang of them, the guys and the girls, they're just all like, you know, they're the toughest. We're the SFX. They blow shit up, and they're always
yes.
with, you know,
Yeah.
they gave me a cactus gift the next day. It was a cactus, and they put a mustache on it, and then they wrote on the bottom of the cactus. It was in a tin, and it said, "Thanks for not being a prick." And because they would have had to been the ones who reset the setup.
Right.
Right.
And
Yeah.
because I stayed all there, they gave it to me, and I still have it.
That's
because,
so cool.
You know, just to get a gift.
Did
from
you
them.
name it?
The cactus? No. I mean, it was so amazing. I actually kept it next to an aloe vera plant that Melanie gave me from. I said I wouldn't talk about the porch scenes, but the porch scene where I'm ashamed of being a vampire.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
That would be episode 307.
Yeah, and Winona smacks Doc.
Mm-hmm.
That night, and because it was Melanie and myself and just the trust we have on each other, I said, just do it, man.
Yeah.
Just, you know, you have my permission, my consent, whatever it is. Go, Mel, just go for it, man. Let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
And she, you know, whacka. So, you know, it was, you see one on TV, but you know what I mean? Out there in 2 a.m. and -20, there was some wax. So, you know, Mel, she gave me, when I went and set the next day, she left me a little aloe vera plant.
Oh, that's so cute. I want to go back to the Groundhog Day episode because that's actually one of my favorite Doc moments is that episode 309, which is Undo It, where you kind of go through, Winona goes through this whole Groundhog Day-esque scenario where you're buried and she's trying to figure out how to get out of it. And one of the reasons it was my favorite is because it comes on the heels of like Winona and Doc kind of fighting about being a vampire and there's all this tension. But then you really, like, even though you're on a projection and you're not even near her, you can still feel the connection between Winona and Doc, and you still know that there's a huge connection there. And just the performances between you and Mel in those scenes was like amazing because you could even feel it as a viewer. You're not even in the same room together, but you could feel the connection between these characters, and you could tell that it was a big moment. And Winona had to go through countless scenarios, and she could tell that you continued to be buried. And it was like, it was such a good moment. And it's on my list as one of my top 5 because I just love that moment.
What I liked about that episode and those scenes was the calm in Doc's voice. Like there was just this like level of just, it's okay, darling. And I'm not going to try to do my terrible Doc Holliday impression, but it was just this like, I don't know where I am. And he just had this like calming voice. And especially since Winona, after about the 3rd or 4th or 1,000th time that she had to relive the moment over and over again, was getting more and more agitated. The juxtaposition of Doc just having that soothing, whether or not she listened to him was a different story, but just that kind of like that balance. That's what I really liked about it. One of my favorite Doc moments, it's not a scene. I would say it's pretty much encompasses the whole season 2, which was just how Doc felt about the pregnancy. And then subsequently when baby Alice was born. I almost called her Allison.
It was me.
You grow up so fast. When baby Alice was born, one of the most touching scenes of that whole kind of like storyline was the moment in the kitchen where excuse me, I'm getting choked up now, was when Doc not confronted, but they finally were having this open discussion about where each of them stood for, you know, the whole thing. And Doc was basically like, listen, in my day, we didn't fathers weren't involved, but I'll be as involved as you want me to be. And it was the moment when, before leaving the kitchen, Doc touches Winona's stomach that really, was like the punch to the gut, I would say, for that. So can you tell us a little bit about like what it was like for you, filming that? And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you or Melanie has mentioned in the past that actually her real baby kicked you.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, that would have been one of the scenes that I picked 100%. I just can't remember if that was the same scene where we were eating Kraft Dinner and Twizzlers before.
No, that's a different scene, but I actually wanted to discuss that with you. So let's put a pin in that, because I wanted to ask you something about that.
I was always trying to wonder, how did we go from the freaking Twizzler moment to like this beautiful moment in the doorway? I just didn't understand how we got there. Yeah, it's that moment was just incredible. You can, if you watch it again, you just need to look at Melanie's face, because it's on Mel in the angle we have. There was a non-scripted moment again. That was just the relationship that Melanie and I have with each other, in the trust of sometimes we just know we can go outside of the box, and we know we have most of the time Emily's blessing for little things here or there. Other than that, I'm actually like, I stick to the script as much. Like I'm the biggest wimp. Yeah, there was just this moment where I paused, and it felt right to pause in that moment, and then I put my hand on her stomach, as I felt like this guy who accepts that he wants to be a dad would do, and then and boom, I felt the kick. And so did Mel, and you can see it in her face. And that was the first time that she had felt that.
Oh, really? It was her.
Yeah,
It was
that
the first time too.
The first kick. So she was like, maybe I added that it was the first time. I don't know. We should check with the source. But just remember that it was like, she was like, you can see in her face, like, what the? But she didn't say the rest of that. But she trust me, watch the scene. It's literally, what the? Did you feel the thing? And of course I'm looking at her like, yeah, I just felt it. And it was like just one of these surreal, incredible moments of like, how do you even script that? That's just what makes Winona so special. There's just these a million golden once in a lifetime moments that somehow get captured. And it was that was one of those scenes. It was just amazing to be a part of as a human, as it's like a person. What the hell? That was pretty cool.
It's a really good moment, because you see, it's just one of those, like, and I'll say this multiple times, but like every scene you and Mel have together, there's always this connection. And that's what I can't ever get over between Doc and Winona, is like, no matter what their relationship is at, like right now, they're good because he's saying, I'll be there for this baby. But then 3 episodes later, he could be, they could be in a completely different place, but they always have this connection. And I think that's what makes the two characters so great. And my other moment that kind of ties into the whole Alice thing is the moment in episode 212 where Doc meets Alice for the first time. Like after the baby's born, and Waverly and Nicole take baby Alice off before they're going to hop on the, send her off on the helicopter. Doc runs up and he finally gets to meet it. And he says, dainty and delicate and blue. And it's one of my favorite Doc lines, because it's like, it was such a cute little thing. And like, we got to see this like fatherly Doc for like the first time. And that was such a good moment. And so I'm going to mention something. No spoilers. You don't have to comment, but there's a scene in the trailer coming up for the next 6 episodes where we see Winona in a blue dress. And the first thing I thought of was Doc saying, dainty and delicate and blue. So I'm excited to just see what the context of that is. But I wanted to mention that it was kind of the first thing I thought of was your line about being dainty and delicate and blue. Because I feel like Doc has a lot of women in his life. And he kind of, there's always a nice little softness to him when it comes to his Earp people. So,
yeah. Actually, to just go off of that, Emily had mentioned at a GalaxyCon, which was last month, on the panel, there was a question about what are the characters' Achilles' heels. And because you weren't there, you weren't available, she actually spoke for Doc, and she said his Achilles' heel is that he doesn't think he deserves to be loved. Do you agree with that? Or do you think that he Like, do you think that there's anybody that he believes truly loves him?
No.
Wow. Okay.
So it is his Achilles heel. He doesn't think he could be loved.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, I can't go on,
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But it is, it's sort of true. You see Doc in all these moments, and there's always this back and forth between him and Winona, and he's always expressed his love for Winona and the Earps in general. But there's always something in Purgatory going on that puts a wedge between them. So I think that Doc just always feels like it's never his moment. He never gets that chance. So it's very nice. I think that I'll mention one of my favorite moments, and it's going to take you all the way back to season 1, episode 1, when we first meet Doc standing in shorties at the end of the bar. Winona's drinking, and he's admiring Peacemaker because he sees it, he sees that gun, and he says something about he recognizes that gun. And my favorite part is Winona mimicking his accent. She starts mimicking it and then says things along the, lines of, who she is. And Doc says, "My apologies. I did not realize I was speaking with an Earp." And then he has this famous line where Doc says, "Sometimes life chooses for us." And that just kind of like set the scene for Doc in general. Like, it's the first time we're seeing Doc on screen, and it's the first time we're seeing him and Winona. And he's got this like miraculously like thought-provoking thing where he's just like saying sometimes life chooses for us. And Doc's always got these one-liners. But what was that like? I don't know if that was the first scene you guys filmed together, but like, what was it like having that first moment where Winona and Doc are in a scene together, and you get to kind of like figure out what that chemistry is going to be like, and how is Doc and Winona, how are they actually going to like play off of each other in this series?
Well, I mean, that was the one, Allison. That was my all-time favorite. If you would have told me just to pick one scene, I would have said that one. For multiple reasons, for all the reasons you just said, and then for other reasons, which I guess I'll tell you. Like for one, the way we filmed. I mean, you don't film everything like chronologically, or there's nothing makes sense. I still don't understand what's going on. I started Winona Earp, and I think my first 3 weeks or definitely 2 weeks, maybe a little longer, was just mainly me and Bobo, just me and Michael Eklund, and revenants and pulling fish across that line with a chain and stuff. And I was just like, what? I didn't, it's a different show, man. And it's, there's a lot. It's just different stuff. So. And that was all awesome. I've said a million times of what I feel like working with Michael Eklund. Those scenes are all.
Had you ever worked, given that Michael is, I use this term loosely and no offense, but like a veteran, Canadian actor, and you two as well. Had you ever worked with him before on any?
Michael and I are what's known as competitors.
Okay.
We're the same age. We both got that same kind of haircut and look and, whatever it is. So, and he would be like the West Coast guy and I'd be the East Coast. Whatever tax credit production was looking for, one of us would have the better chance at getting, when it came to the roles. I think it was more of one of those things, just very, very similar. I do know he did read for Doc. He did tell me he went out for Doc.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then that scene came, and it was great because it was on a Monday, so it was a brand new start to the week, and it was my first scene with Mel, and this is Winona Earp. This is and it was in all the stuff, and it just, you see it on the screen. It's just two people sizing each other up and trying to figure each other out. And it's also two actors and two humans trying to figure each other out. And like, where's this, what I mean? You could immediately feel there's something, this is good. Yeah. So, both of us were, it's great because you also, then you're like, okay, fuck, we're on a good show, man. This is going to be a good, this is going to be a good fucking show. Sorry for swearing. The pride of we got something special on this show is like, it's tough not to be excited in that moment. So that was like the main thing, and then those looks we gave each other, like, that's not on the paper. That's just that's just the two of us just trying to figure each other out. And then like in the real life part of it, there was some pressure that I put on myself to play Doc Holliday, because I knew Doc Holliday so well from Tombstone, and so many people knew the Val Kilmer Doc, the Dennis Quaid one, but especially that Val Kilmer Doc, like the pressure of like, oh my God, you can't touch Val, you can't do Val. What are you doing? So I was like, oh man, I gotta do Doc now. And I remember we do the scene, and the focus puller, his name is Corey. He's pulling focus, and he looks up at my Doc, and he goes, gives me the big thumbs up. But that's what he was saying. You're nailing Doc.
Nice.
And I felt really good in that moment of like, okay, you know what I mean? I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
People like it. And that scene was it. That was just everything for me, because, it was Paulo Barsman directing again, which is like, just a gift.
There's something about first meetings at Shorty's across a bar that does something on this show.
You're not wrong. You're talking about Doc and Lucado, obviously, when we share the cigarette.
Obviously.
Oh yeah.
Not the sheriff coming in looking for
No. I was actually talking about the scene between Doc and Nedley when Nedley offers him the bar, but you guys go off. I mean,
that too. I mean, that's awesome.
What else do you have, Tim? What's another one of your specifically favorite moments?
It's so tough, but
you mentioned the brawl that Doc and Dolls had.
The brawl between me and Dolls was just super fun, because it's just the background that day were incredible. It was nuts. It's just like, it was also just like the biggest testosterone day in the history of seasons of Winona Earp. Like, it was just men being fight. And Joris Yarsky, Whiskey Jim, is a very good friend of mine. So it was great to see Joris and work with Joris, and I love everything he does. But the main thing of that was just the energy that everybody else gave us. So Shamir and Shamir was happy as can be that day, because it's a physical, like he loves that stuff. You know what I mean? So yeah, that day was awesome. But my scene I would have picked was actually another Shamir scene, was the interrogation scene. Dolls meets Doc for the first time. And Doc says something smarmy. I can't remember, like, oh, that is one thing we can't agree on. But that was my equivalent to my Mel scene with Shamir Anderson and Dolls. That was that scene of the two people trying to figure each other out, and the same thing, just the actors and whatever, and you know what I mean, like what do we got, what's this show, and it felt great again, you know what I mean? So it was one of those things where you that's what people ask me, oh, did you know Winona was special from the beginning, that it was gonna be? I knew that there was something special about that show. You don't know what's gonna get picked up or not, but I knew there was something special about it. I could feel it. I've been on enough shows and stuff to feel when you feel stuff. So that was that. And that interrogation scene was that, and I'm pretty sure Waverly and Winona are there watching, right?
Mm-hmm. They're watching through the double,
two-way
like mirror. That's what it's called.
And you could even sense the two of them watching, like, what are these two guys, like, what are these actors doing? Characters up to?
Was that the scene where what you were talking about, was that the line that he says, I think that's what we can agree on, that I do look great, or was that someplace else? That's the thing,
like, my hands are handcuffed to the thing, and and he comes in and he's got his files down, and it was great. It was a great thing, and Shamir needed the right files because he didn't want to just have papers, and it was like, it was great. It was one of those things that just
I think a lot of the scenes between you and Shamir and Doc and Dolls, again, that's like it was the yin and yang kind of, especially when you two were together. It wasn't. A lot of it was based on both of their love for Winona, or just like the protecting Winona and the Earps and everything else. But it towed the line between, and I'm going to get a little crude here, it towed the line between that caring and a pissing contest between the two of them, I think. And I to have that kind of, when Dolls, spoiler alert if you haven't watched, but when Dolls left, I want to say, and I don't want to speak for the character and I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like there were things left unsaid between Doc and Dolls.
100%. Feel like it's like we talked about Doc not being able to accept love or whatever. For me, it solidified the moment that the Dolls left. And I mean, not in the sense that they were ever going to be in love with each other or something, but there was something about that that competition they had, that respect that they had for each other. In some ways, that admiration, that fire, that whatever it was that the two of them had, that kind of, it was like a part of Doc's spark. And when Dolls left, a big piece of Doc also left, and you can see it. Look at the arc he goes on in season 3. It just it goes downhill for any character in season 3. It's Doc Holliday. He just doesn't make too many good choices, and I don't think if Dolls was still there that Doc would have had that same arc. I think that was his only friend, to be honest.
And it's almost as if Dolls might have given him the hard talk before he went down that path.
Yeah.
Almost like he was his voice of reason, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to explain because it was like it's just like there was something there between the two. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was tough because then from that moment on, the only person he really had was Winona, and they're just not in the most healthy relationship. It's
right.
Unfortunate. They are when they are,
Yeah.
but I mean, at the rest of the time, like people, if you're in a relationship in real life like Winona and Doc, get out. Just don't need that much drama in your life. It was hard. I mean, he kind of had Waverly, but then when Waverly's, she's in love.
Yeah.
Like got her own thing going on now. So she didn't have time too much for Doc, and you know what I mean. So when Dolls left, that was a real hard one. That was a real hard one on me. Yeah, that was tough. Plus, I lost a lot of the comedic stuff that was really fun to do.
Right, because he was the serious and you were
fun stuff.
Right?
I mean, I could remember the Jeremy Dolls attached together. Like, it was just those days were just dumb fun. It was awesome. You know what I mean? Shamir and I were like just dudes. Like, you know what I mean? He'd hide my shoes, I'd hide his shoes. It's just fun stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, actually, now that we're talking about Dolls and Doc, one of my next favorite moments is at the end of season 1, where they team up to kind of save Winona and the town from the thing. Nicole comes in and he just gives the rundown of everything that's happened. And I'm wondering how good your memory might be if you remember the whole kind of monologue.
Purgatory is overrun by demon remnants and Dolls is just a dick. I can't remember the rest. Winona is I can't remember.
That's pretty close.
Purgatory is overrun by demon revenants, aka Wyatt Earp's resurrected outlaws. Bobo Del Rey is their leader. I am Doc Holliday.
Yes, that Doc Holliday.
And Doc here is just a dick.
Yeah, okay, so I remember some of it. Yeah, that was my first scene with Miss Burrell.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
I didn't.
really?
I mean, I didn't have stuff with.
That's true. Not a lot of Doc and Nicole stuff that season.
Season 1. So yeah, I didn't have too much stuff with Mademoiselle Burrell at that time. So
that's a funny moment. I love it because you don't expect Doc to be the one to just give the rundown on what's happening in the town, and he's got this whole plan. It's like he had a list in his head, like explain this. Yes, I'm Doc Holliday, and like he just had it all.
Yeah, I loved it too. I just love that he's like, dude, don't bullshit this lady, man. Just you know what I mean? Because he knows that Dolls was all about the black badge and the secrets and whatever. But like Doc's like, everything's going to shit. This lady's going to help us. Just tell it, like, this is what's up. We don't have time for the whole shenanigans. You know what I mean?
Well, even so, like following up in episode 201, and Eliza goes, as in Doc Holliday, and he's like, well, now that would be ridiculous.
Got to keep some secrets.
So
you
it's like,
some.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The moments I like are just Doc acclimating to the modern world, like telling people how it is, like why do we have to keep these secrets, you know, even when after the brawl, how he was in Adolz's truck and he was like playing with the windshield wipers and the visor and all these other things. Now, are those scripted moments, or are those like moments that you're like when they're sitting season 2, where he's sitting at the desk just taking selfies while Lucado is giving her speech? Like, are those just you moments in the background, or does somebody tell you exactly, or does somebody tell you to do them?
Yeah, no, those are all me. So that's funny. It's funny that you said that, because I did so much more in season 1 that got cut out. Because that was a big part for me when I read the script of like, I was going to play this man out of time, because that's what I thought. Like, I mean, there's so much comedy there. You know, the guy, he hasn't, 130 years, So like, yeah, the windshield wipers was me trying to figure it out, but I also did like if the footage on that would be just too much,
Right.
That's why the director is me looking at the horn and the radio but I remember distinctly the director was Ron Murphy. It was episode 3, and the scene is Levi. Who's the one I pulled across the thing? Levi, right? Not Fish. Yeah. So Levi and I show up at Bobo's compound or whatever to have a conversation with, and we pull up in a car. I don't think you even see us pull up anymore, because they cut that out too for timing. But they had us pull up in a car, or no, we get into a car and then we drive off at the end. That's what it was. We do a scene walking through the thing, get to the car, and then drive off. We do this scene, and then I get to the car, but like my character's never gotten in a car before, not that I had filmed. So I was like, what the hell? And I was not getting in the door, and I just hear cut, and then Ron Murphy says, Tim, what the hell are you doing? And I'm like, trust me, that's a great Ron Murphy. And I'm like,
Okay.
What do you mean? He's like, what the hell? You just get in the car. And I'm like, yeah, but Doc wouldn't know what a car is and what the thing. He's like, he's like, you're right, but we don't have time for that shit. He figures it all out super quick. Okay, he's got this ability to figure shit out. Now go. And I was like, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And I just got in the car and then they cut us even getting into the car probably. But yeah, it was funny because at first as an actor, I'm just like, yeah, but you can't. Or like I got in an elevator once and I wouldn't get in. I was like scared and I was like tapping on the floor. And they're like, dude, it's never going to make the movie, man. Just get in the elevator and press the door.
I need a long blooper cut of Doc being reactive to modern day.
Yeah.
Modern technology.
But then other moments they embrace, like the selfie stuff was funny. So, we put it in the movie. That was just me is at the desk. And I'm like, what would you do if you never had a thing before? So I thought it'd be funny if you did it the wrong way. And I thought that was a rehearsal, to be honest, but they loved that one with the, it's funny what you did with the, I saw what you did back there. One guy. But yeah.
Earlier in at 107, because it was when Winona and Nicole were doing the whole morgue thing. So 107, when Waverly was having the party, her phone rang and you're like, yeah, telephone, he's angry. So just Doc with modern technology and everything, that just it does go noticed.
That was probably my funnest night on set, by the way, ever. One of my
Waverly party one.
Yeah, and I mean just because of like not the scene. The scenes were fun and stuff, but it's just Dominique and I. We just had, it was freezing. That was probably like honestly the coldest night in the 4 seasons that we filmed. And I just remember she was in that little dress and she kept going outside to get that skull or something. And she was just that British accent swearing up his name, mate, fucking go, mate. And then I was like, but we were doing this stuff where we were inside and like the zombies were coming to the house. And P.S. the homestead has changed over the years. I don't know if anybody's noticed that. But we were in the original homestead. This scene. And you couldn't even see us, man. But we were inside running past each other like maniacs, like zombies were actually coming. And it's just Dom and I running. I've got the hat. I'm slipping on the floor. Oh, to board up the door. And she's looking at me. She's laughing. She's like, and it was hilarious. We just had like a stupid night. It was super late. It was just Dom and I running around this, fake set. No one could see us. There's no cameras inside the thing. The cameras are outside getting the actual actors walking to the house. It was just a stupid fun night. We had a lot of fun.
Just really quick, do you remember what Doc's tell is?
His tell. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did he have?
Waverly says what his tell is. It's that she knows when he's lying because he's always lying.
Yeah. Wow. Say that line like that. I mean, wow. Yeah. God, I wish you should have said that. I wish you said when Waverly says, how do you know when Doc's lying? Then I would have been able to answer that.
Yep, because he's always lying. Which I think Doc's coming around to the truth. I think that there's some stuff in there. All right, Laura, what's one of your last few moments you'd like to share?
I think I've got enough. Allison, what else do you have?
Well, I wanted to mention the moment in episode 212 where Winona and Doc split the bullet that kills the widows.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
That's just such a good moment, and it's the finale of season 2, and that's one of my favorite finales. But Laura and I had previously discussed it, but it's like Doc is standing there, and no one knows the plan. No one knows what he is talking about. Like, are they actually going to shoot each other? Like, Waverly's standing there like, no, don't do this. But somehow Winona catches on. And it's that connection where she somehow figures out what he's talking about, and they just shoot each other. And as a viewer, I'm confused. I'm like, what are they doing? So the fact that Winona figured it out, but I love the moment where Doc's talking about how he saw Wyatt. What does he say, Laura? You quoted it.
Yeah, it was like, I saw Wyatt. He's proud of you, like to Winona, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But all of this, again, talking about lying, it's a lie because he didn't go to, maybe it was heaven, but he went to hell in the moment that he died. And I like that scene because there's that moment where Doc is moving. He's like circling the street, and on instinct Winona knows to kind of like always keep Doc in like a direct line of sight, so she doesn't stay standing where she was, in front of Waverly in the area where they stopped the Jeep. So she's circling as well, and they just get to that point where it's kind of like 12:639 of a clock, and so they're at the 2 points. Doc and Winona are at the 2 points, and then the two widows are at the other 2 points, or north, south, east, and west. I guess I could have also given the example of, but anyway, and they don't know if it's going to work. He says he's never split a bullet before, but for some, and I don't even think, did he know at that time that the bullet was made from the plate? Or
I don't even remember. I just know, I think that he knew there was one bullet, but 2 widows, and they didn't have a way to kill them both. Right. But Doc somehow comes up with this master plan.
I wouldn't say how is it written in the script, but how is it described to you? Like, how are, like, do you guys go through the motions with that for before going to
like rehearsal, staging,
or
like how do you?
Yeah, you're correct. That scene was, I mean, most of them, and on Winona, to be honest, time is like just not, we just don't have time. We shoot. So most of the time, not really, but that scene, I did remember we worked it out because of the way they were going to shoot it. And it's Paul Barsman again. He had this techno crane, just like this huge crane he wanted to use to shoot the thing, to get the whole thing. And how do you do it with the actors in the so it was like it's a whole thing. They could show you on paper, and you could rehearse it in an empty studio, but it's not the same until you get there and you're on the road and you're on the street.
Right.
What I do remember about that whole thing was Emily. We had one of our nicest moments ever, like our real life moments. She goes, "What do you think? Weren't you happy?" And I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "The big hero moment I gave you." She goes, "Big hero moment I gave Doc in 412." I go, "What are you talking about? You already gave me a hero moment this season." She goes, "When?" And I go, "When he wrote, I'm all in."
Oh, yeah.
I said, M, that was the best moment of my, it's me, man. You kidding me? I don't need to shoot 20 people. It was amazing. No, but like, you know what I mean? For me, I was like, what are you talking about? You already gave me so much. You think you're going to give me a hero moment of, splitting these bullets? It was sick. But for me, I was like, you gave me so much. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even.
I just loved how quick that Winona was able to catch on. Like, it just solidifies their relationship. Like, you can't find a connection where someone as crazy as Doc is going to come up with this idea to split a bullet, and then Winona just instantly gets it.
Talking about a hero moment, we got to talk about Doc's sacrifice at the end of season 3 when he climbs the stairs after Waverly. Here we have again, towards the end of the season, Winona and Doc were on the outs. She had handcuffed him and wrapped the circle around him in holy water rope so that he didn't help. But you had a few moments in that last episode where you saved Nicole after she was stabbed from the side of the road, and you brought her back to the homestead. And then when they needed you, you show up out of nowhere. You suck the venom out of Winona, and then she couldn't get up the stairs, so you sacrificed yourself, or Doc sacrificed himself to climb up the stairs. And what was the line that you said when she said she doesn't have a weapon?
I am a weapon.
Yeah, that's like the goosebumps moment for me, of Doc, where because he is the greatest gunslinger ever, and so in order to be the greatest gunslinger, you need your guns. However, before he climbed those stairs, that's the one thing, like, so he took off his weapons in a sense, and he became a weapon unto himself. So just talk about, was that like a hero moment for you, for that season or for that episode?
Yeah, yeah. Redemption is the main thing, because season 3 was like tough on me, but not on the Doc. Like it's a great, you need the arc, and you got to have it. And I mean, of all the characters, who are you gonna take down that dark road? You know what I mean? It's like, you got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean? But it was kind of tough because some of the things that he did was kind of like, fuck, man, don't be that guy. But for me, the coolest part was when I read that he sucked out the venom, and I was just like, it was one of those moments again where I'm like, Emily, you're such a genius. Like, you set up all this stuff, and like the worst decision he did turned out to be the only thing that could save Winona in that moment. You know what I mean? Because he was the only one that could, and he wouldn't, you know what I mean? So he could actually suck out the venom. I just remember like saying, this is just great writing. You're so good. It's like, there's so many moments where I have like, where it just all comes together for me. And I'm just like, you're so good. It's like, if you don't know why Emily's so good, it's like, that's the reason. And I mean, it's like, I won't get into it, or I can't spoil anything. I won't spoil anything, but that's how I feel about, where we get to in 4, and just like, Emily, you're so good. You're just so good, man.
So after you read and you filmed season 3, you see Doc going into the staircase. At that point, we have this whole, we had a whole fight for season 4. So like, you guys personally don't know what's coming next after this walking up the staircase, but what were your thoughts? Like, you see Doc go after Waverly, and you're like, what are you thinking? Like, where do you go from here? Like, what has Doc gotten himself into?
No clue. I kind of had an inkling of like, okay, well, at least it's gonna be me and Waverly, Doc Waverly, which could be cool. But then another parts of me, like, the show's called Winona Earp. They could easily, within 2 seconds, she busts through the door. We just start season 4 with her running up the stairs anyway. You know what I mean? Like, so I was like, I don't know. I don't like to think too much about where stuff's going, because I'm always like, I also trust so much in where the writers are going to take us, because they're so freaking, they're just so good.
I wanted to just rewind for a hot second, Tim, if you would just humor me. You mentioned early on in our chat that the scene where Winona and Doc are eating the Kraft macaroni and cheese
Yeah.
and the Twizzlers and that whole meal. Now, I know you, I know your other life as a restaurateur and a somewhat chef, I guess. I don't know if you went to culinary school specifically, but I know that about you. And I know that Melanie is a fairly decent cook. She posts some things online about her making pizza and things like that. I liken myself to a little bit of a foodie. Did that scene and having to do that scene gross you out as it did me? Just like knowing that you would have to possibly eat like burnt macaroni and cheese or Twizzlers with macaroni and cheese.
I'm a little, no shame here. Twizzlers are amazing, and so is Kraft dinners. So you got.
Not saying they're not
You got
amazing
the wrong
separately,
guy. They
just
were awesome.
together.
I didn't care. Everybody thinks that too, that I like fancy food. Like, don't get me wrong, I've eaten in some fancy places just because I'm very fortunate in the people that I got to know in the culinary world and all that stuff, and people want to cook for you and whatever. But my favorite stuff is like simple, like you can't beat Captain Crunch.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I use cashew milk now because I don't know, oat milk with my Captain Crunch. Kraft dinner is amazing. So are Twizzlers. Yeah.
Yeah, separately, just not together, maybe. Not
I
not
didn't
on
mind.
the same plate.
I didn't mind. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to also, we do a thing towards the end, and maybe you can talk about these, but we do a couple of honorable mention moments, and because there's so many for Doc that run the 3 seasons here, I just wanted to throw a few honorable mentions at you, and just give me one phrase, one word, something about them that you can remember. So during the Christmas episode, Doc keeps dragging around this Christmas tree to the homestead and to the police station. What was just what was in your mind, going through your mind about why was it so important for Doc to find a home for this tree?
He's trying to find a home for himself. It's very
Okay.
symbolic. I love that season, by the way. I would throw honorable mentions in all my scenes with Mom. With
Megan follows.
Yes. Yeah, we had some great stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff. She was great, and we did it all in one day, pretty much. So I just spent the day with her. It was great. We had great.
Yeah, I recently just watched that episode because I did a season 1 through 3 rewatch. And actually, if I can go back now, something just came to my mind about the other thing that we talked about Doc being the weapon. It wasn't clear to me on my first watch, just how major a sacrifice Doc made by becoming a vampire. Did you know early on, he was becoming a vampire, what his explanation was going to be of why he did it towards the end of the season, which was he wanted to be around in case Alice needed a partner to fight off the revenants with, in case, Alice didn't complete the or break the curse, then her next generation and beyond that, which is something that I picked up on this rewatch that I did.
Yeah. But I only way later. It's crazy you said that, because at first, I didn't think that at all. I was just like, fuck, what's Doc's gone bad? What's going on? I'm the bad guy on the show now. I'm going to be the baddie. We don't have a baddie anymore. Because at the same time, what a great adversary for Winona. You got to put her up against somebody. So, you know what I mean? Doc would be pretty good. He's not going to win, but he'll put up some sort of snaky fight. But towards the end, I did think that, there's the Alice factor, and that definitely made it easier. Yeah.
I think it took me a minute to catch on to that as well, because I've been a huge Doc fan from the beginning. And so when that scenario happened and Doc became a vampire, I was upset by it at first, you're no, you don't want Doc to put himself, because I knew immediately that it would be a rift between him and Winona. There was no way Winona was going to accept that. And so I was upset there was going to be this tension. But then as you watch and you heard him say eventually that he wanted to be there in the fight, however long it may take, it kind of gives you a little sense of what he was thinking. Maybe he was thinking he needed to be there in case Winona doesn't complete the mission. But at the same time, I'm sure that made Winona feel a little less than perfect because she's committed to completing the curse. So she didn't think there needed to be a prolonged, Doc's in the
Right.
Doc's
I
thinking
didn't
about
even-
I'll be here if you can't do it, but Winona's like, why can't I do it? So
Right. That might have even caused a bigger, like you were saying, a bigger rift between them. Okay, so the next thing is Doc always tipping his hat even when he didn't have a hat. Was that a you thing, or was that a like a scripted
No,
thing?
I just felt like that's good cowboy etiquette. The good thing is about filming in Alberta is there's actually a lot of cowboys, and a lot of cowboys that work on our set. Like the script supervisor, Marion, she's the best, and she's a cowgirl, she's a cow woman, she's a real cowboy. Like, so she knows like when you put a hat down, there's a certain way that it needs to be up or down, or then cowboys would know this stuff or wear it. I always took it off in the house. And I always tried to take it off before we had those real heart-to-heart type of moments. And the same with the tipping of where you tip it and which part of the hat. And it's cowboy lingo.
Because when he didn't have the hat, I guess it was just like instinctual for him.
Yeah,
but
that
he
was
didn't have
the
it.
100%, and that was not scripted either. That was just one. It's funny because it was your go-to. It's tough to play Doc Holliday with a hat.
The next one is Charlene. Did props, or I'm assuming it's props that brings the cars in, right? Or production. Did they come to you and ask you maybe like these are the car options, or they just picked that car and gave it to you? And actually, did they not think that maybe a roadster like that would not fare well in the snow? Or
look, I'm gonna give you a hint, man. All these cars they're not easy to drive. Like, not only is that one stick, I hadn't driven stick since I'm 13. And it's not like the clutch on that thing is a normal clutch that you're used to in any car built in the last decade. The clutch is from 1970. It's like you need to push this thing in so hard before you can even think about getting out of neutral. It's nuts. And then, you gotta, but to be honest, most of the time, I had the greatest stunt double by the name of Denton Edge. Not only that, he's a professional bull rider and a wonderful father. He's a beautiful man. He's just a great guy. Denton Edge, the bullfighter stunt man. I don't know why we make a show about this guy, but he's just incredible. So most of the time he'd do it. He's an Alberta boy. He's like, he doesn't care about clutches, and he's not even stressed for a second. Yeah, none of those cars are easy. Winona's truck, it's a nightmare, but it looks beautiful. You know what I mean? Like the Camaro's, like, I remember I said something once, and then I learned to just shut my mouth. I remember I said something to Emily. I said, why can't you give Doc an automatic car? That Charlotte's so hard to drive. She goes, oh, I'm sorry, I got you the freaking coolest Camaro in Alberta. And I was like, I'm gonna shut up forever. Like, I'll just shut up. Because it's beautiful. And the Lincoln was also great.
did you hear that, everybody? He even said it's a Lincoln, not a Cadillac.
It's a Lincoln.
Yeah, I know it's a Lincoln. My uncle used to have a car like that, and everybody's like, oh, the pink Cadillac. I'm like, it's not a Cadillac, it's a Lincoln Continental.
You are 100% correct. I understand because of Elvis and they want to say pink Cadillac, but it was a Lincoln Continental.
Good job picking up on that.
Allison, do you have any just?
Well, one of my honorable mentions is with the season 3 premiere where Doc's tied up in the bus with Kate. Like, you can't get, like, that's one of my like funnier moments I love of Doc, because like she ties him up and he's just stuck there, and he's like, what am I gonna do now? I'm tied up in this stripper, like, what is it, stripper bus? Like, I don't know. And then she shows up and he realizes it's Kate, but that was some funny moments. And then he goes running through the snow barefoot when he escapes. And I just really loved that whole scenario he put himself in.
But Allison, you should know you are 100% correct. Even in the script, it says stripper bus.
Oh, good. Okay.
That was the first script I got. I'm like, Doc, in the stripper bus? What the hell's a Doc?
You're like, what is season 3?
Great scene, by the way, to pick. I would agree with you 100%. And again, that was one of my first scenes. It was my first scene with Chantel. And again, it's one of those things where you're figuring each other out. We were just trapped in this little bus.
Yeah, the fact that you were trapped in the bus and tied up made it even better. Because if you wanted to get out and not talk to her, you couldn't. You were kind of stuck there,
Yeah, it was great. And Chantel was amazing. And yeah.
And then having to run in a tank top and barefoot in the snow.
I mean,
Geez, somebody, do they like you or do they not like you there? I'm trying to figure that
didn't mind.
out.
I would have also said another honorable mention was just the beginning of season 2 of us running again when Dom and I were falling down that snow hill and running from the guy. That was just so, I mean, nothing against the VFX department, but like of all the kind of monsters we had, you know, that mask.
Yeah, the big-headed mask guy, that was fun.
It was also just like Dom and I were like, you know, and then Mel joins us, but like the three, like we're back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you just have this moment where the two of us are running and the camera's on a skidoo in front of us. Do I need to explain skidoo for people who don't know?
I think we get it. Yeah,
No.
we know.
So it's blasting and we're just running towards the skidoo with the camera pulling away from us. And it's just like, and then we turn around and there's, you know, this guy in this costume running at you. And it's just like, Dom and I are just like, yo, life's amazing again. We're back.
Yeah.
Things are good. Life's good. It doesn't matter that it's like minus 20. Who cares?
So we got anything else?
So many more moments, but I think we've talked about all of the major ones, all the honorable mentions.
The Doc and Jeremy moments.
Oh,
Just
so good.
Just
Yeah.
Vernon knows how much he me
Okay.
in those moments.
So why don't you give us a Doc and Jeremy moment that
I
really
mean, the
sticks out
hat
for you
passing
now?
one was such a it wasn't scripted and not only Jeremy but Varun loved that moment. He just, you know, the hat came on his head and he was very happy, you know what I mean? And it was like, and like I said, I don't go off script too much, and Varun does. So he was happy for so many reasons. He's like, oh my God, I wasn't ready for it. And it's like, it made so much sense. And it was like the best thing. It's like, oh my God. It's like, oh, this acting is so fun. It's like, Varun just makes everything fun. You know what I mean?
There's a different kind of balance there than what you had with Shamir and what Doc and Dolls had. But it's a nice new balance, a different, like, older brother, younger brother, father, son, baby, even if you wanted to go that way. So it's it is. I think he's a great addition to, or he became a great addition. Yeah, so that's it. I think we did a little bit more than 5, but that's okay, because there's way too many to get through. But so there you have it, everybody. Our top 5. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree? Want to share your own top 5 moments? Allison, where can they find us online?
You can find us on Twitter at ErpTop5 or online at ErpTop5.com.
Great. And if you want to follow me, I am at Laura Meet World on Twitter.
And I am at Nona Wayha. And Tim, where can they find you?
I am the real Tim Rozon on Instagram and Twitter. And guys, thank you so much for having me on. That was just, it was super fun. Warmed my Earper heart, so I'm quite happy.
Thanks for coming on. That's it, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoyed listening to Tim talk about some behind the scenes stuff on the favorite moments. And we hope you tune in next time. Have a great day. Bye.